Friends, today's video will be dedicated to 10 cool upsets in boxing. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and also leave 4-word comments. Well, let's get started. Number 10. Alexander Povetkin, Dillian Whyte. We start with the youngest fight in this compilation. Alexander Povetkin is one of those unlucky guys who found themselves at the top of the heavyweight division during the reign of Vladimir Klitschko. In the early 2000s, the Russian became an Olympic champion in Athens and demonstrated himself as a very skillful, high-class puncher in the professional ranks. However, with Klitschko on the throne, he never had a chance to take his place. In 2015, Klitschko was dethroned by Tyson Fury, and then Anthony Joshua and Povetkin realized he had to fight the Brit. The match took place in 2018, but Alexander once again couldn't overcome the division's king and turned into a journeyman approaching the age of 40. Against him, Dillian Whyte looked much better. After losing to AJ in 2015, the British heavyweight had an 11-fight winning streak, including the demolition of Joseph Parker and knocking out Derek Chisora, something no one had achieved in years. Youth against experience, and analysts gave odds ranging from +200 to +400 on the latter. In the early minutes, the guys exchanged jabs from guard as if they were throwing stones over a fence. Determining the winner in this non-contact fight was challenging, but then Whyte started actively pushing forward. His lead hand worked much cleaner, and although he didn't press as usual, he landed more and cleaner shots than his opponent. Alexander often attacked expansively and couldn't find the right rhythm. In the fourth round, the Russian, in an attempt to finally deliver a sharp blow, opened up significantly, and Dillian immediately exploited the opening with a powerful left hook.
Waiting quite a while. Just landed two really beautiful shot.
Powerful Povetkin fell to the canvas, but he returned to the game and continued to pressure. Towards the end of the round, on the retreat, Whyte caught his opponent with a lead hand uppercut, securing the second knockdown of the round.
As he has done through his career. Oh, but a beautiful countering shot.
Everything looked bleak for the veteran, but it was too early to count him out. In the fifth round, Alexander came out charged to the maximum and at the first opportunity stepped behind his opponent's strongest hand, then rewarded him with his brutal Russian uppercut.
Take nothing away from a very good one. The shot from Alexander is extraordinary.
The blow landed cleanly on the jaw, resulting in a solid knockout. Number 9. Lennox Lewis, Oliver McCo. Many boxing fans believe Lennox Lewis is the strongest heavyweight champion in history, and at his peak he could defeat any other heavyweight. Indeed, the Lion had dozens of title defenses. He was the last undisputed champion of the heavyweight division, and his resume looked like a real Hall of Fame. However, in Lewis's career, there were two insanely disappointing defeats, both in fights where, on paper, he was supposed to dominate his opponents. Many of you are familiar with Lewis's bout against Rahman, so let's turn to the first defeat in the British Titan's career. By 1994, a young Lennox already held the WBC belt with a record of 25 victories undefeated. Tall, strong, fast, and highly technical, he effortlessly dispatched top boxers without breaking a sweat. And then, on his fourth title defense, he received a gift: Oliver McCo. The Atomic Bull was a decent boxer but could lose even to a journeyman, and his popularity was mainly due to sparring sessions against Mike Tyson. And they matched such a guy against the dominant champion? No wonder McCo was given +400 odds. Lewis easily and elegantly worked with his lead hand, keeping McCo as far away as possible. The champion's footwork was also very good, helping him change direction or move away at the slightest hint of danger. Oliver couldn't overcome the Lion's defense, although he constantly tried to reach him with a powerful right-hand punch. In an attempt to inflict any damage, the Atomic Bull would break into a clinch, but even there, he couldn't bridge the class gap. In the early moments of the second round, the Brit attacked McCo brilliantly a couple of times with the jab, but confidently moved forward and didn't even notice the left hook.
Lewis unbeaten, remember, after 25 fights. Oh, he's got him!
Bam! And Lennox was knocked down. The powerful punch stunned Lewis, and though he managed to get up, he was clearly not himself, so the referee rightly stopped the fight. Journeyman Oliver McCo once again proved that anything is possible in life. Number 8. Azuma Nelson, Jeff Fenech 2. Let's be honest, rematches rarely carry much significance. Usually, a boxer who dominated in the first fight looks even more confident in the second, but there are exceptions. Take for example Juan Manuel Marquez and his quadrilogy against Pacquiao. In the case of Azuma Nelson and Jeff Fenech, it only took 3 bouts, but they were no less interesting. In the early 90s, Fenech was the main star of Australian boxing with high expectations. He participated in the Olympics and had a rich amateur career. In 1991, Jeff, in the super featherweight division, fought for the belt against WBC champion Azuma Nelson and essentially won, but was robbed by judges who scored it to a draw. The rematch was delayed for a long time, mainly because of Nelson, but was finally organized by the beginning of 1992. Considering the first meeting, Nelson was given odds ranging from plus 500 to plus 1300 for victory, depending on the bookmaker. On this night, a real devil possessed Azuma. He no longer allowed Jeff to work against him at close range, instead taking the center and confidently moving forward. Fenech did not expect such pressure and unwittingly took a deadly straight punch. A first-round knockout broke Fenech's spirit, and he could never showcase the best version of himself. However, Azuma did it for both of them. In every round, he chased the opponent from one corner to another, landing devastating shots from a distance, and sometimes mockingly let Fenech work in the phone booth, just like in the first fight, but even there, Nelson felt superior. The fight was completely one-sided, with perhaps only one round being called close to even. In the 8th round, when a battered Jeff was already beaten, Azuma went for the final exchange and put an end to this bout.
That's a hook, right there it is, right there it is. And down goes Fenech for the 3rd time of the fight. He had to take advantage, and he did. Azuma Nelson to the attack. Wait a minute, Kenny steps in and it's all over. It's all over.
Nelson's victory became the main upset of 1992, according to The Ring. Number 7. James Kirkland, Nobuhiro Ishida. If you try to remember who James Kirkland is, the only thing that comes to mind is one of the guys knocked out by a young Canelo. Yes, they did fight in 2015 and James got a beating, but it wasn't always like that. If we go back to 2011, it turns out that Kirkland was an interesting prospect back then, with a promising record of 27 wins and 24 knockouts. I'm not saying they were all top fighters or well-known guys, no, but James won and did it very impressively, potentially aiming for something more serious than just prelim fights in the near future. However, a guest from Japan named Nobuhiro Ishida stood in his way. In his previous fight, Ishida suffered a defeat, but prior to that held the WBC interim title and even defended it. However, compared to explosive Kirkland, he looked too pale and was supposed to fall like everyone before him. The odds for Ishida's victory were confidently set at plus 500 and even higher. If only they knew what would happen in reality. Kirkland looked so charged, as if a chain had been lifted off him with the bell, and he immediately went for his target. James's aggression looked cool, but it mostly involved depriving the opponent of space rather than causing damage. Ishida wasn't against it, as the closer the opponent, the easier to hit him. This happened in just 20 seconds.
Kirkland has taken 3 rounds to deal with 2 opponents, and now he gets caught on
James went face-to-face with his opponent with an open guard and received a significant left hook. The damage was so great that Kirkland fell to his knees, but with a confident face, he continued to fight. This time his hands were in place, but the tough Japanese boxer with incredible hand speed still broke through them, sending James down again.
Isn't the profile that most Kirkland opponents portray. Down goes Kirkland a second time.
After such a shake-up, Kirkland didn't come up with anything smarter than a go for an exchange and predictably missed too much, falling for the third and now definitely the last time.
Sitting duck for Ishida's right hand. There it is again.
Third knockdown now, and
Ishida showed a great fight and pulled off a tremendous upset. Number 6. Amir Khan breeders Prescott. Amir Khan, a true lost talent, a multiple winner of various amateur tournaments and a silver medalist in the Olympic Games, he entered the professional arena as a future star. Indeed, the guy had outstanding boxing skills, excellent speed, and a fantastic footwork, everything needed for championship success. However, his weak chin, which made itself known in fights against the strongest opponents like Kell Brook, Canelo Alvarez, and Danny Garcia, ultimately let him down. Yet it was not against them that the secret of Khan's poor resistance was first revealed. In 2008, Khan was just starting his professional career, competing in the lightweight division with only 18 fights under his belt. It was then he first encountered someone equal, the undefeated Colombian prospect Breidis Prescott. By that time, the Briton had already made a name for himself with a series of high-profile victories, making analysts understandably favor him. However, did they go too far by setting odds of plus 700 on Prescott? Khan confidently held a high guard and fired shots with his lead hand, while Prescott's powerful punches cut through the air, seeking the opponent's head. By the way, just a couple of days before the fight, Khan didn't even know who his opponent would be, so special preparation for such an aggressive puncher would have undoubtedly come in handy. After the first few seconds, the fighters stood firm in the center of the ring, throwing their best shots, waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Amir was the first to suffer this fate as he invested in an uppercut, but it missed and Prescott's counterhook found its target. Khan was immediately rocked, and instead of defending, he decided to meet the opponent head-on, but again slightly miscalculated and caught a second hook. The punch not only knocked the young lad out, but folded him in half. Despite such a fall, Khan still managed to get back on his feet, where this time he faced a powerful right-hand strike. This time it was definitely a knockout. Number 5. Nonito Donaire, Vic Darchinyan. Before the emergence of the monster Naoya Inoue in the lower weight classes, Vic Darchinyan, the American champion from the flyweight division, played the role of the most intimidating boxer. Size was not an issue for Darchinyan, and he consistently delivered breathtaking knockouts with enviable regularity, regardless of the caliber of his opponents. Vic was incredibly aggressive, fast, and endeared himself to the audience, making his fights highly anticipated. By 2007, the reign of the Raging Bull had already lasted for 3 years, and there seemed to be no one in the foreseeable future who could match his power. At the same time, the star of the young Filipino, Nonito Donaire, began to rise, who was only 25 years old at the time. The amiable guy with an incredibly rich amateur career and a record of 17-1, but lacking experience against well-known opponents, looked promising. However, according to most experts, at that moment, Donaire's talents were thought to be sufficient only against other newcomers. Therefore, analysts assessed his chances of winning at plus 800, almost like an elusive probability. Donaire acted aggressively, but only to the extent that he didn't let Vic get too close. The attacks of the newcomer seemed a bit chaotic and too wide, but they easily reached the head of the champion, who played to the crowd and didn't bother raising his hands much. Darchinyan's own attacks were not as effective as usual, and he had to work hard to land each of his punches. In the third round, the Filipino rocked his opponent, then engaged in an exchange at close range and didn't even flinch from Vic's acclaimed power. It seemed like one boxer was fighting against a better version of himself. After the bell, the champion suddenly came to life, showcased good footwork, and landed several solid shots to the contender's head. It appeared that Vic caught his rhythm, but it was just the delay of the inevitable. In the 5th round, Nonito caught him with a short punch. The left-hand strike was executed perfectly and Vic was done.
By Nonito Donaire, working well. Oh, look out! Darchinian down for the first time!
Number 4. Edouard Troyanovsky, Julius Indongo. The duel of two undefeated boxers is always interesting but incredibly unpredictable. In 2016, the star of Terence Crawford was rising in the super lightweight division. Bud was claiming titles one after another and seemed unstoppable. However, it looked like there was a guy ready to stand against his unconventional technique. Russian Edouard Troyanovsky came with a record of 25-0, with 24 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He had repeatedly defended belts according to IBF and IBO. Everything was leading to a showdown between Edouard and Crawford to determine the undisputed champion. But before that, Troyanovsky was given one final test: Julius Indongo. The African boxer was also undefeated but couldn't boast illustrious opponents or a powerful punch like Edouard. Knowing this, it becomes clear why analysts gave Indongo's chances of winning as plus 900. The Blue Machine worked from a southpaw stance, not allowing his opponent to control the ring. With his sharp movements and quick jabs, Indongo made Edouard step back whenever he tried to get closer, continuing to work comfortably from a distance. In the 40th second, Troyanovsky managed to close in, but the Namibian instantly moved away and threw a lightning-fast left-hand strike. The defense failed and the favorite flew to the canvas without movement. A boxer with odds of 10 won by knockout in less than a minute, and this performance still remains a stellar moment in his career. Number 3. Cory Sanders, Vladimir Klitschko. For several years, both Klitschko brothers were a headache for all heavyweight boxers. They were tall, skillful, and had the smartest jab in the game, sounding like a death sentence for guys like David Tua or Mike Tyson. The brothers cleaned out the division in parallel with astonishing consistency. However, bad days happen to everyone. Vladimir, for example, suffered his first loss early in his career, but remembering it now seems somewhat funny. We are interested in great upsets, but there was one in his career. In 2003, the younger Klitschko was already the dominant WBO champion with a series of dominant defenses against the old guard. Seeing how strong Klitschko is, opponents started avoiding him and promoters had nothing left to do but pull a journeyman who wouldn't get such a chance on any other day. The lucky one turned out to be Cory Sanders, whose main achievement in his career was a loss to Hasim Rahman. Given the class difference between the champion and the 37-year-old contender, analysts gave crazy odds for Sanders' victory, ranging from plus 1100 to plus 2900. Cory fought from a southpaw stance, and this became the biggest problem for Klitschko. Despite his giant size, he couldn't properly keep this elusive guy at a comfortable distance and constantly missed his left-hand shots. Sanders quickly realized that the praised champion didn't feel so comfortable against him, so he abandoned the second fiddle tactics and went forward with attacks.
Rocking the head by the Klitschko.
And he's got him in the left hand and floored him!
Towards the end of the round, a brawl broke out in the phone booth and the contender landed a powerful left hook on Vladimir's jaw. The invincible Ukrainian found himself on the canvas and then returned there after a combination of hard punches.
And now it becomes a battle for survival. Cory Sanders has got him again!
If not for the end of the round, Vladimir would have fallen in the first 3 minutes, but the bell postponed his demise until the second round, where he fell again.
Fancy here that he can score a knockdown, and he's got him again!
And after that, he was embarrassingly beaten.
And rolling all over the ring, he goes down again, and it is stopped all over round 2.
Cory's victory in this fight looked so easy that it seemed like initially bookmakers gave odds in favor of his opponent. Number 2. Simon Brown, Terry Norris. Time flies inexorably, and the names of yesterday's top fighters are forgotten faster than it may seem. So let's turn to history and recall the legend Terry Norris. In 1993, the super welterweight division champion ranked in the top 3 pound for pound regardless of weight class and defended his WBC title 11 times. Norris was so dominant that at some point all reasonably suitable contenders had run out and the new ones hadn't yet emerged. Then they decided to set up what seemed like a straightforward fight for him against Simon Brown. Not long ago, Brown had been the dominant champion in a lower weight class, but Buddy McGirt seriously beat him, and the former hegemon decided to escape from his native division to another. Here, Mantequilla had 5 performances, all, though not equally confident, but still won, and now he received an unexpected but very pleasant gift, a title shot. However, for most, this fight seemed like an ordinary mismatch, and experts agreed with this opinion, giving Brown odds of plus 1300. Terry felt like the king of boxing and acted not only effectively, but also spectacularly. He constantly charged with lightning-quick jabs, beautifully ducked under all punches, and closed the distance in an instant. Looking at this, it became clear why such odds were given for one of the boxers. However, the situation suddenly took a complete different turn. Simon dropped the champion with a jab.
He's a great body puncher.
The punch looked so powerful that it could have easily rendered him unconscious, but Norris endured and survived the end of the round. Obviously displeased with the turn of events, the pound-for-pound leader wanted to retaliate, but his opponent seemed impervious to his blows and consistently turned the tables. In the third segment, Brown again shook the champion, but he couldn't drop him, only slightly intimidating him. However, it was only a matter of time. In the fourth round, Norris came out angry and charged up, but it didn't help, and Simon skillfully snapped him with his right.
87, Joseph Walker, a disqualification. Oh, down he goes. Look at that right hand.
Upset of the year, and it could have been the best of the decade, but he still has a long way to go to first place. Number 1. Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. No other fight could stand in this place for objective reasons. Much was said about this fight. They predicted Douglas's fall within 90 seconds, called it legal murder in the ring, and criticized it for that complete mismatch of the boxers' levels. Why did it turn out this way? In 1990, the Iron One was far from his best times. His wife left him, he got into a fight and a car accident, and in addition to all this, he had recently parted ways with his old coaching team and was now practically on his own. Moreover, the champion used drugs and struggled with his mental state. Still, Don King seemingly ignored all of this and decided to send the guy to Japan for the easiest title fight in his career. The chosen opponent for this stroll was Buster Douglas, who did not have a good reputation and record. Facing such an opponent, Mike almost did not prepare and relaxed to the point where he fell for the first time in his life during a training session. This was the first but far from the last warning sign. However, the odds for Douglas's victory were already set at plus 3,900. Mike wasn't himself. His peekaboo style turned into a lethargic shuffle of a local vagabond, and combination work was replaced by attempts to chop Douglas at close range with a single punch. Unfortunately for Tyson, the tactic didn't work and he couldn't land a clean shot, while Douglas, on the contrary, managed quite well. With his punches, he didn't cause much damage to the champion, but landed much more frequently, looked more active, and in addition wasn't afraid of pressing, which was crucial. Despite this, Douglas remained a boxer of a much lower class and made mistakes. In the 8th round, he took a powerful uppercut, after which he fell.
Here he's against the ropes. I've never seen.
And there's a right hand uppercut, and down goes Douglas.
Such a brutal blow from Mike would have been considered a knockout in 99% of cases for such a long rise to defeat, but the referee did everything to let the guy survive and the fight continued. The blow became the last bright spot for Tyson as he then completely tired, and in the 10th round, the greatest sensation in boxing history occurred.
To try to get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
Buster paid back with an uppercut, then unleashed a series of hooks, and Mike found himself on the canvas. the undefeated champion with a record of 37-0 ended up on the canvas and couldn't recover. Yesterday's 7th place in the pound-for-pound ranking becomes the new undisputed champion of the most competitive division in sports, Signature Madness. And that's it. Did you enjoy the video? Then be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more videos on the topic of upsets, be sure to write about it in the comments and be sure to mention fights that weren't discussed today.